Hey friend, welcome back. My name is Becky if you're new. Today, I'm walking into the grow room for the first time in a week. This last week has been very emotional and hard. Last week, we went out of town very last minute for a loved one's funeral, and it's just been a hard week. And so I haven't been in the grow room in a week, and I was very nervous to come out here because I knew that last week when we knew we were going out of town the day before, I put a ton of things in the ground. I spent an entire day just me getting as many things in the ground, which I'll show you that today, what we got in the ground. I needed to work quickly, but I am in here. I'm excited to be in here with you and see how amazing things look. I'm a little nervous because I knew that there was things that I wanted to get into the ground last week, but I just had no time. I had a wonderful neighbor who was willing to come and water things so things would not die. And I can already see things look incredible. And it does look like we have a little bit of a gnat problem. Before we left, I put some of these papers up, and there are a lot of little gnats on this paper, so I'm glad I put this up. But friend, look at this. This is our zinnias, and they are ready to go in the ground. So we are now officially 2 weeks past our last frost date. This is the, I can't see what it is. Ooh, I don't want to drop them. Golden hour. And they look really beautiful. There's a couple in here that look like not super great. Before we left, I was hardening these off. So I should have no problem putting a bunch of this stuff in the ground, but oh my goodness, friend. Look at all of our pumpkins. These are what I was worried about because I could have put these in the ground last week. I just didn't have the time. So we're gonna get our pumpkins in the ground today. Look at these. Nasturtiums have all sprouted. None of these had sprouted when I left last week. Here are more zinnias we're gonna get in the ground today. The peppers, okay, they got a little overwatered, but they're gonna be okay. They look fantastic. Tomatoes look great. You know, I was so worried about the tomatoes. And look at how beautiful the tomatillos look good. Okay. These are gonna go in the ground today. These are pumpkins, cucumbers. The peppers look great. I'm not gonna put the peppers in the ground for another week. More zinnias going in the ground. I was very apprehensive about coming out here today because I just didn't know what I was gonna walk into, but I am thrilled with how this looks. So let's start with the zinnias because that's not gonna take a lot of brain power. I know where I wanna plant these. So this is my golden hour zinnia. I'm gonna get this into my wheelbarrow. We're gonna get this in here. Also, I had run out of trays before we left. And so, well, I had run out of trays, and the day before when I did all that planting, I was able to get back 10 of these trays. So my neighbor was able to bottom water while we were gone. Here's another tray of very healthy looking zinnia. This is the unicorn mix. The weather not only worked really well while we were gone in that it rained the entire time we were gone, but today is our one sunny day and then it's gonna rain for the next 4 days. So it's perfect to get these in the ground on a day where it's not raining, and then it's gonna rain and take care of them for the next few days. This tray is pretty cool. We've got some more unicorn mix. There's flies coming out, so this isn't great. I'm glad I put those traps up before we left. But you can see in this middle area, there's a big open spot. That is where I planted what I'm calling my homestead zinnia mix. I saved seeds and I got 4 of those to germinate. So I'm glad I at least got 4. And then over here we have our scabiosa from, these are all my zinnias and dahlias are from Floret Seed. We have rose gold, oh not scabiosa, this is celosia. Rose gold celosia. I've got, I think 2 more, maybe just 1 more, no 2. More zinnia. A couple of them look like they got a little dried out. This is the Victorian Wedding, I believe is the name of this one. Yes. And it looks like I'm gonna have to take 2 trips. Well, we're gonna take lots of trips, just 2 trips for the zinnias. Okay. Wow, look at these ones. They're incredible. So we need to top them, but we'll do that probably after we get them planted out. This is the Alpine Glow. I think that's how you say that. Super beautiful. I've never had zinnias look this good before. Okay, so we're gonna start with that. I'm gonna grab some gloves. You know what I think I'm gonna do before we go out there? Again, friend, I'm telling you, I do not have a major plan today. It's just, we're gonna get out here and get as much done as possible and see how everything in here is looking and how everything in the garden is looking. But because it's not raining today, I wanna get some of these plants out on the patio to start hardening off, like my peppers. I've been doing this as we've had nice days, but obviously I haven't done it in the last week. So it's not ideal that I'm gonna be planting my pumpkins today because they haven't obviously hardened off like I would like, but today is the day. They are already so big. I don't want them growing any more in the pots. So sometimes we just have to work in a non-ideal situation. The ideal thing though is that it's not raining today. It's very overcast, so it's not going to hopefully burn them too much. But the other thing that's good is that it's gonna be overcast for the next 4 or 5 days, so it's not gonna be sunny and hopefully burn the leaves, because I can't really wait another week for them to keep growing in these pots. But I just have to say, I am so thrilled with how the tomatoes are looking and how the peppers are looking. Like, look how deep green those look. They look fantastic. So let's go ahead and get some zinnias in the ground. Well, these beautiful babies just hang out here. And then I wanted to show you this too. The last thing we did together out here was get these planted with strawberries. And you can see they're looking really, really good. Most of them have started to green up and look like they are super happy in their container. This is the mess I left before we left. When I was getting all of the dahlias planted out, I just made kind of a mess here and never put it away. So maybe I will try to get to this mess later today. Oops, I think they're okay. My original goal was to have this entire bed planted out with zinnia and to not only have this one, but that very, very far one as well. I do not think I have enough to have 2 full beds of zinnia, plus my plan was to have zinnia planted down the middle of the beds where I put my squash. And those beds for sure is that far bed down there is gonna have pumpkins. And then this is one thing I planted out the day before we left. I just came out here, I wanted to get all of the dahlias planted as much as I could. So I had, this is Petite Floret. I had enough Petite Floret to kind of fill out the majority of this middle of the bed. Not enough to fill the whole thing, so down on that end and right here, I plan to put zucchinis or pumpkins. I haven't decided yet. And it looks like in the back, the cilantro is starting to sprout. This bed right here is either gonna be pumpkins as well, or it's gonna be peppers. I haven't decided. I haven't decided if I want 2 pumpkin beds right next to each other, or if I want just that pumpkin bed there and that very far one to be pumpkin. So we'll figure that out today. And then this is my other bed that I planted out the day before I left. This right here is Bee's Choice dahlia. And then on the end here, I put peanuts. And on the other end, I put peanuts as well. So the dahlias are in the middle of the bed. And I also have right here Virginia peanuts, because none of the Spanish peanuts I planted sprouted. So all the peanuts in all the bed are the same variety. And I'm just realizing now, because it was kind of a crazy day the day before we left, that I did not fertilize these dahlia beds. So I'm gonna get to that today. And another thing I planted out is along the edge of this bed, I planted out a ton of nasturtium seeds. And I can see they are just starting to sprout. Nasturtiums have a hard shell, so they need to stay pretty hydrated when they get planted. And so it was a huge blessing that we had like 5 days of torrential rain. And these right here are ranunculus that we planted out, I don't know, in February, I think. So when I fertilize that other dahlia bed, I need to come and fertilize this one as well. So let's see. I can always plant zinnia by seed too. I don't have to plant just these starts. So let's get this whole bed planted with zinnia first. So I know I want this bed with zinnia because I think it would just be beautiful when I come down around into the garden to have one full bed of flowers just smack right here.
If you missed it, I did mention that I'm not using landscape fabric this year, and I feel so good about that decision. I will use it come fall when I put, or winter when I put all these beds to bed at the end of the season. But during the growing season, we're going to go this entire growing season with just the beds themselves and the plants we put in them. And I'm really excited about that. So I already put compost and manure on this bed last fall, right before I put it to bed, but I do need to amend the soil. So the first thing I put on there is some blood meal, which is a very high nitrogen, which my soil needs. And then I'm just putting in some all-purpose fertilizer and kind of working that in.
Here are the first zinnias. The cool thing about these trays, they mimic a soil block in that they do air pruning. So you don't get a bunch of root-bound plants. So this is good timing. I probably should have planted these, 3 or 4 days ago, but that's not how life worked out. So today's a good day. They still look pretty healthy, and we're gonna get these in the ground. This right here is golden hour, which I'm very excited about these. I did not get 100% germination on these, but probably a good 90%, which is incredible. I'm happy with that. And I'm putting, let's see. I'm putting them pretty close together, 2, 4, I think I'm gonna put them 6 across. And maybe I should do 5 across. We'll do 5 across. I did not look this up. I'm just going with what looks about right to me. I also like these because you can just push the bottom and they pop right out, and I can stack them. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tighten these up a little bit. I'm gonna put something along this edge and something along the back edge, the front edge. I don't know what yet.
One thing I love about this decision to not use the landscape fabric is I feel like I have a lot more freedom in my garden. When you use the landscape fabric, you have to prepare the hole in order to put the plant in. And I am a gardener who enjoys just kind of getting out there and feeling creative with where I place things. And, you know, sometimes I'll go out there with a couple seed packets and I want to just be able to sprinkle seeds here and there. And I didn't feel like I had that freedom last year. I think it worked really well last year for the season of life I was in, but this year I have a little bit more time to dedicate to the garden. And so I don't have that fear of weeds quite as much. So I am excited to be able to have a little bit more creativity and freedom in my garden. And then we will be covering the soil come fall because soil wants to be covered. Mother Earth wants to be covered, and she's either going to cover herself with weeds or I can cover her. And so my goal will be to get her covered up this fall. So in this bed at the far end, I have some echinacea plants that I planted last year. Those are perennials, so they came back this year. And then along the trellis is where I have my sweet peas, which are a flowering pea. And you can see they're just starting to kind of poke up through the ground. They're about 3 inches tall, and those are hopefully going to grow up that trellis and create a beautiful arch of flowers. And I've got the bed all planted out, so I'm going to put the irrigation back in, and then we are going to let these plants just sit here and hopefully produce quite a few flowers for us this growing season.
All right, we got this whole bed planted out, except I am gonna put either cilantro or lettuce, or maybe I'll put nasturtiums along the outside. I don't know yet, but we got zinnias planted, and to this line right here, it is golden hour, and then all the way to here, it's unicorn mix. And then this last little bit, looks like I need to give this one a little bit of help here. It is Alpine Glow. So I have them planted one variety, the next, and the next. And I still have all these. So these are our Homestead zinnias, the orange ones. These are more Alpine Glow, and these are Victorian Garden. So I do not have enough to plant out another bed in its entirety of zinnias like this one. So what I think I'm gonna do with the rest of these zinnias is I'm gonna plant them, and also the celosia is, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, so I apologize if I am not pronouncing this beautiful flower correctly, is I'm gonna get these planted in the squash beds. Last year in the squash beds, not this one, this was potatoes last year, and this is where we're gonna have at least one squash bed. This was my squash bed, and I had pumpkins along the outside, and then I had zinnias in the middle. Zinnias get pretty tall, probably about, I don't know, 2 to 3 feet tall. And so the squash is down to the ground, and it kind of just cascaded out of the bed, and the zinnias were nice and tall and beautiful along the middle. So I want to do that here, and I only put about 5 zinnia plants along the middle, and I know I can plant them a lot closer together. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I don't know if I told you, but I decided I'm not using landscape fabric. It's pretty windy, so I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna do that and why I'm doing that as I take this up. Maybe it's not quite as windy now, but what I'm doing is not using the landscape fabric because I don't feel like I can be quite as, oh my goodness, friend. Oh my goodness. I'll bring you in and show you what I'm seeing. I don't feel like I can be quite as creative when it comes to gardening because I've got to burn holes in it and things. So what I'm gonna do this year, and we'll test it out just like last year was a test, is I am going to put the landscape fabric back on in the fall after things grow. And during the growing season, we won't have it on. And we'll see how that goes, and I might change my mind again. But I'm gonna save this fabric because it's perfectly good. And these staples. It's funny because I just put the effort of putting this on. Oh my goodness. Okay, I can definitely tell this was a potato bed last year. Looks like my dad and I missed a few potatoes, which is no big deal. I'll just let them grow and then we'll harvest them come the fall. I already amended this bed, so I don't need to do that. So I can just get planting, which is pretty nice. So these are where potatoes were last year. They're kind of yellow because they weren't getting sunlight. I'm sure as soon as they are in the sun for the next couple days, they'll green up just fine. I'm gonna use this. This is comfrey. I'm gonna use this as mulch in just a bit. I'm just gonna set that there for now. And I'm gonna get all these zinnias planted down the center of this bed. Some of these got pretty leggy, so I am just trimming them back quite a bit. That's why I wish I had planted them, a few days before, but grateful for the time that I have today. And I think just by trimming them back a little bit, it'll help encourage a shorter, stockier, healthier plant in the long run. I think I'm gonna have exactly the amount I need to fill this bed along the center.
Today I will be planting squash in this bed as well around the zinnias, and I think that'll work just great. Now what I am doing is cutting the tops off zinnias, just like snapdragons and peppers, even tomatoes. If you cut them back, they'll end up branching out and they can become a bushier plant. And in the long run, zinnias will produce more flowers if they are bushier. So that's what I'm doing there.
I just went inside to grab myself a water and I found this. I was walking by and I've got a whole nother tray of zinnias that are called precious metals. So I may have had enough to do one full bed, but I'm happy with what we've decided to do so far. So now we need to figure out where we're gonna put Victorian Wedding, I think it's called. Wedding. The precious metal and my homestead ones plus my, what are those called again? Celosia. So what I've decided is this bed here is going to be a mixed bed because I've got these very, very sad looking eucalyptus plants that desperately need to be planted. Ugh, they look awful. They might not even survive. So if they don't survive, then I will replant something else. Some of them have already died. Oh man, they look bad, but I think hopefully if I plant them out, they will bounce back. I have 3 varieties. This is bookleaf, and you can see dead, struggling, okay. And then over here we have baby blue, and these don't look that much better. This one's, I don't know if it's gonna make it. These 2 look okay. Those look terrible. This obviously is dead and dead. Over here we have silver dollar, and we have a couple dead ones, but then we have some that look okay. What I think I'm gonna do in this bed is on the back side here, I'm gonna plant cosmos. And then in the middle, I'm gonna plant the zinnia. And then in the front row, I'm gonna plant the eucalyptus. The cosmos I started myself way too early, and I'm just gonna go ahead and compost them. I'm not even gonna plant them. I'm placing an azure order, and I'm just gonna pick some up probably through them. So I'm not gonna plant obviously the backside yet because I don't have those, but I can get the zinnia and the echinacea in the ground now. These are some onions left from last year that are sprouting, and they're just gonna go to seed. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those out. I think I'm gonna start with the echinacea.
Eucalyptus is one of my absolute favorite scents of all time. Last year was my first year growing it, and I was pretty blown away that you could grow eucalyptus. I don't know why. It felt very exotic, and unattainable until I did some research and found that yes, I can grow it in my area. Now, I am too cold in the winter. It doesn't survive winters, but it held on until we had that 1 week of ice storm. And so it can withstand some cold temperatures, but not, negative for 4 days in a row and 2 inches of ice like we had. So this, I think, is going to bounce back. I don't think I have documentation of what my eucalyptus looked like going into the garden last year. I want to say I don't think that they were much bigger than this, and they end up getting pretty big. And so I'm curious to see if we can get these to bounce back. If they don't bounce back, then I'll just plant something else, maybe like green beans in that area or something. Time will tell. But what I'm thinking is my cosmos are going to get pretty big. They're going to get much taller, well, maybe about a foot taller than my zinnias. And so I want it to be kind of like tall in the back, medium in the middle, and then my eucalyptus in front. I think that's going to be pretty. We'll see. This year is kind of experimenting with flower beds and just doing different layouts and seeing what's going to happen. And only time is going to tell for future. I am pretty new to, the idea of growing cut flowers. I've put flowers in my garden for the last few years, but this year I'm really focusing on a lot of cut flowers so that all growing season I can have homegrown bouquets all over my house. And I should be able to make that happen, plus have more than enough to share. So anytime anyone comes over or I go over to a friend's house, I'll be able to run down into the garden and not only gift them tomatoes and zucchini like I have been able to do for the past years, but also gift them hopefully some homegrown bouquets as well.
This bed is done for today. So we've got 2 rows of our precious metal zinnias. From here to here, we have bookleaf eucalyptus. And then from that white marker all the way to this one, we have silver dollar eucalyptus. And then we have over here, baby blue eucalyptus. Along the back side, I will be putting 1 row of cosmos, but I need to still get the cosmos. I think I'm gonna get those. I'll be able to pick them up in 1 week. If I place the order, it'll be next Thursday, I think. And then we'll have that along the backside. So those get big and bushy. So those will be on the backside. And then we have zinnias, eucalyptus, and this is gonna be a cut flower bed. And then over on this side, we have our sweet peas, which are hopefully gonna grow up on this trellis. Now we're gonna go down here where I'm gonna have 1 more pumpkin bed, and I've got 1 more tray of zinnia. And I'm going to go ahead and along the edge of this bed, or no, not the edge. Let's see if I can do this. Along the middle, just like I did at that bed far back there, we're gonna put 1 whole row of zinnia just right along the middle of this bed. And then we're gonna start planting our pumpkins and our loofahs. And it's really windy again, sorry about that. So in that bed, we're gonna put our Victorian wedding. And just like that, we have the Victorian wedding zinnias planted in this bed. Now I need to go find the pumpkins and maybe loofah that's gonna go on the end of this bed, all the way up there. Let's go get some more plants to get into the ground. That feels like a huge win, getting all those flowers in the ground. I still have probably about 6 zinnia, and I still have to figure out where I'm gonna put the celosia. But then when I was out there, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm running out of space really quickly. And so then I had to stop, and I spent probably about 15 minutes just like looking at the garden and figuring out where I want to put everything, because I still have to figure out where I want to put my black beans that are bush beans, the ones I've been saving and growing every year. I needed to figure out where I was going to put my green beans, my carrots, and my peppers and tomatoes, and I have it all figured out. So I'm excited. We're getting very close to having this garden planted out. But what I want to do now is actually take a second to kind of organize this chaos. It is kind of a disaster in here. I want to get the floors clean. I want to get all of these put away. I don't want just a huge mess in here once I get everything planted out. And I've got a bunch of things here from right before we left. I need to still get those dahlias in the ground, but I kind of want to just clean up a little bit, reset, and then we're going to plant all of the pumpkins. So let me get all these trays put away. I went from having no trays to having a bunch of them because we've been able to get so many things in the ground. I am going to wash all of these. All of my Epic Garden trays and cells are dishwasher safe. And so I am gonna wash them before like when everything is planted out, it's kind of funny. There's like this lull. So it's crazy getting everything started from seed if you start things from seed. And then it's crazy to get everything in the ground once it's go time. But there's definitely kind of this quiet period once you get everything in the ground before things start growing. And my goal is going to get all of these trays washed and clean before the craziness starts so that I can have this room completely clean and it's not gonna be crazy when I need to start seeds next year. I loved having all of the gardens kind of put to bed because then I was able just to get planting. So I kind of want to do that same favor to myself with all of this seed starting equipment. But that's a project for a different day, but I at least want to get it organized today and put away. So I went from having no trays to now having a bunch of them. All right, this feels a whole lot better. I just need Josh to screw in my hose organizer and then I can get that up off the ground. So just having this swept, this counter cleaned off. I mean, it's not clean necessarily, it's still dirty, but it's cleaned, I guess. I'm not gonna tackle organizing the seeds today. Maybe I wanna try planting those black beans today, but that might be too much because I have to get the pumpkins in today because they cannot be in those pots any longer. But now we've got kind of a nice clean area. So let's go grab some pumpkins and zucchinis and get them in here. Now all my pumpkins and different things that I have on these trays are all intermixed. So when we get down there, I'm gonna have to go through and really look at them and figure out where they're going. So first things first, I know in this bed with these dahlias, I want to plant zucchini. So let me find my zucchini plants. It's gonna take me a bit to go through all these because they are not organized in any shape or form. Nope, none of these ones. Black Beauty zucchini. right here. Another zucchini. These are my white zucchini. Ideally, look how healthy they look. I'm glad I put them in a nice big pot because I was easily able to separate them. Put them in here. Look how good that looks. And what I'm gonna do is let these zucchinis grow out this bed. These white zucchinis get pretty big, so I'm kind of putting them toward the edge of this bed, and I'm gonna let them grow out the bed. These are my Dunja zucchini. This is a hybrid zucchini. I'm able to very easily break those apart without damaging the roots. What I'm gonna do is take this label off, just like I've been doing. Take one of my staples, put that right there. First things first, along this trellis, I know I'm gonna put loofah, so I'm gonna go ahead and look for loofah. That's these little guys. I have 4 of them, and I should have 2 of those. Well, we'll start with that. Now I'm just gonna go through and see what I have and put them out. So we've got our potatoes here. I don't know if those will interfere. I don't think they will. I've already amended this bed with compost and manure and soil amendments. So all I need to do is carefully separate these. I'm gonna put 4 along this trellis. Well, it has started to pour outside. So I got this one bed completely done and I started this one. So what I have here, I'm gonna share with you, is I might have to call it early before I get all these planted just because it's pouring down. I need to get those plants back inside, my lights under, back in the girl room so they're not getting rained on. And let me just share with you what I got here. Loofahs, like I said. So my dream is that this whole thing is gonna be covered in loofahs. We'll see if we can make that happen. So I was able to get 2 plants on each side that are the same. So here is Jardel, I've got 2 of them. Here is Waltman's butternut, I have 2 of them. These 2 here are red warty thing. Oh, I guess I planted 4 of those. This one is the green warty one. It's called, oh gosh, let's see. Martin D, and I'm not sure how to say that, but I'm gonna put pictures up so you can see what they look like. These 2 are red warty thing, so maybe I should switch those. I don't know. It's raining, I might not. This one, I'm not sure how to say this one. G-A-L-A-U-S, I think, D'-E-Y-S, I'm not sure. I did not do very good handwriting on that. So I've got 2 of those. These are 2 white flat pumpkins. These are white stacker pumpkins. And these 2 are Jardel. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, plus the loofahs on the end. No, that doesn't make sense. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. These are way, way close together, like for plant spacing. I think they normally say you want like 3 feet per pumpkin. But this worked really well last year. What I do is I just let these pumpkins grow out and into the walkway, and that works really well. It is now pouring. I need to go put those lights back inside. And I think I'm just gonna leave these plants out here, but I don't want them on these trays. Oh, I also put some mini white pumpkins in the corner of this bed. I don't want these to sit in water, so I think I'm just gonna set them down here on the gravel so the water can go through the pot. And then I'll be out probably tomorrow to get these planted, and I'm gonna plant them on that back bed back there, plus all the tiny little white pumpkins and orange pumpkins that are decorative pumpkins, I'm gonna be putting in random beds like I just did there. I'm gonna leave some of these down here so that I can easily carry those over. I just don't want them sitting in that and sitting in water. Okay, it feels good to have these in here now, so they're not going to get ruined with the rain. I'm gonna show you this. I mentioned this earlier, that my cosmos looked terrible. I planted these way too soon. One of my seed packets said to plant cosmos 8 weeks before last frost. One said to do it 4 to 6 weeks. I think the soonest you'd wanna do it would be 4 weeks because they grow pretty fast. I never up potted them, and I'm just gonna go compost these. And then these were the cherry tomatoes that I never up potted, and these just need to be composted as well. And yeah, so not everything looks great. My pumpkins look great. I'm super happy about those. So you win some, you lose some. It's all a learning experience. I think I'm gonna call it a night for tonight because it is pouring. I looked at the weather and there's no signs of it stopping. It wasn't supposed to rain today at all. So my plan was just to stay out there until I got all of those pumpkins done. But like I said earlier, I don't really have a plan for today. It was a matter of just getting out here and getting something done, and we got a lot done. So it was a good day. So thank you for spending time with me in my garden. I will probably tomorrow just by myself go ahead and get the rest of those pumpkins planted. And then what I need to do is do a whole tour so I can show you everything. But there's still quite a bit we need to get planted. I need to get the lights plugged in. We need to get the tomatoes done. Like I said, I'm probably not gonna do the tomatoes or the peppers for about 2 weeks. Oh yes, I gotta get these nasturtiums planted. And I still have 3 green stalks I need to plant. So we're almost there. We're just kind of getting there, and we lost about a week, but that's okay. We're back at it, and I'm excited for what this year holds. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, I'll pop some other of my videos here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.